August 28, 2014 meeting of the East Fishkill Town Board. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Before we begin the meeting, I do have a couple of announcements. Earlier, or late last year, or probably at the reorganization meeting, we set the dates for the town board meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't think about it, we set the workshop. The workshop would fall on September 11th. I'd like to move it up to September 4th. If the board would be okay with that, I think it'd be more appropriate. We will be having a September 11th ceremony out front. So, everybody okay with having the workshop on the 4th? You guys okay with that?
Yep.
All right, so we'll make that change. I'll ask my secretary to make that change on Monday. And also, before the meeting tonight, I did get a letter from our fire commissioners about an incident on Route 84 where a gentleman wrote, he's a resident of the state of Pennsylvania, wanted to write a letter of appreciation for all the efforts. His family and he were traveling to Massachusetts. Their vehicle actually caught on fire during the trip. They pulled over, and it was handled by our fire people, our first responders, our fire people, and obviously our police were also present. He goes on just to say they showed me kindness, countless witnesses watching the fine training, professionalism, and concern for their health and well-being of those. He said it was just phenomenal. He just really wanted to know that as distraught as he was at that time, he will always remember the kindness of the individuals that served that day, and it'll be one of the most horrific incidents that he can remember. But it will be a day that he will remember many people's generosity and kindness, including that of the East Fishkill Fire Department. Our town is very fortunate to have all of you as first responders. So I just wanted to thank our first responders, our fire department, our fire police, and obviously our police department, who always work so closely together for that, because that just shows what kind of people we have in the town of East Fishkill, professionals, and just a very, very good people. That being said, that's all of my announcements tonight. I did want to make a little note that tonight, our chief of police, well, he started as a rookie patrolman back 31 years ago. Brian Nichols has been with us for 31 years, and tonight actually will be his last town board meeting. What has happened in the past, many town board meetings I've been at, we set up the room and there'll be a little, it always ends up to be that one chair that nobody wants, always ends up over there. And somehow Brian will come into the meeting after it starts, and that little chair's gone, and he finds one of these big leather chairs, and he pulls that over there, and he sits down there. And when I look over, I see Chief Nichols there, and he's really kind of looking like he's in his recliner in his living room. He looks very comfortable. So I didn't put a recliner over there or anything like that, but Chief, I'd like you to come up tonight because a few people would like to say a few words, and I'd like you to sit here. I'd like you to sit next to Councilman D'Alessandro, because that would be your leather chair over there. We put it up here for you tonight. I figured if you people wanted to speak, I didn't want you to stand, or I wanted you to be comfortable.
I could get used to this.
After 31 years, I bet you could. All righty, and I'd like to thank everybody for coming out, because what Brian Nichols, Chief Nichols, has done for the town of East Fishkill over the years has really built a terrific department. Not just Brian, and we talked about this, the whole team, but we really have one of the best police departments, I think, in New York State, and largely due to Brian's efforts. So with that being said, we did have a few people that wanted to speak. Former Supervisor Sam Patton is with us tonight. Sam indicated he'd like to say a few words. So Sam, if you would up to the podium.
It isn't often that you get, as an ex-supervisor and an ex-board member, to be able to talk about the chief of police. It's just not something you do. But in this case, it's a pleasure. When this town was a lot older, we had our first armed person available, Jesse Jackson, who you'll not remember. He was the essentially the dog officer. And later on, we were deciding whether we should have our own police department or whether we should join with the county sheriff in those areas. And we talked about a number of different things. We finally decided on a police force, and primarily because, with all due credit to our sheriff's people and to one of the best known ones, the New York State Police Department, there's no substitute for having people in your police department who are in your community, know the people, know the roads, know what's going to happen, and are part of our own area. So we decided that is what we would do. We would do that, and I haven't decided anything against it. I think everybody here, the people that I know and remember, the people who were on the force when it was first formed, and to people who know me only as retired from I don't know how many years now, but I think we have an excellent police force. It didn't start with a few little bumps. We ran into New York stuff. The man we were talking about was Andy Grisola. He was a person who had been in the jail part of the New York State Police, and he had retired. But he came to us and said, you know, I think I can help you build a police department. I don't want to be there forever. I want to be just enough to get it started. And we said, okay, we'll try it. And then it turned out New York said, you can't do that because he's retired. He's being paid a retirement fee. He cannot be paid by anybody else in New York for a New York factor. So we had to go back. I don't think we had to go to court, but we had to make a plea to that. And we came to a deal where we could pay him something so that he's not doing everything for free for that. He was the one who started most of the stuff we had, and one of the people that I worked with in doing that. I'm not sure most people would remember that, in fact, I have worn a uniform myself twice. I was a park ranger for the National Park System for 2 consecutive, not all years, but the summers in 2 years. And later, I was in the CID of the Army for 2 years while I was in Japan. And I got to be using a lot of 150 howitzers, 75 tank guns, 80, 90 tank guns, howitzers, and everything else.
But they don't give those to the police department anymore. Thank goodness.
I think that's a good idea, not to. That's overkill. But I think the police department we have, Brian Nichols heading it, has done an outstanding job with your staff. And we talk about the chief, but I would like to commend all the people here in uniform or other uniform or just general part of the police department. You are an important part of it in keeping the other done. And I think we're very proud to have Brian for the 31 years. And we had a few bumps. There were some car accidents that were brought in suit, and there was a time when there was a misengagement or whatever it is for one of our women people in the police department. But after looking at it for that time, I think I can walk with pride any time down to that department. And I have to also add, every time I go, I get a nice greeting. It's like that. But thanks again for you and for all your staff. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, sir.
Former Supervisor Pete Idem has indicated he'd like to say a few kind words about our Chief of Police.
Behave.
And he is still, although the sign says retired, he still is ours.
I'm going to
I still got some juicy,
do
but
a few tests. I was talking to a few of your former employees out front, and they're starting a pool for how long you have your license after the 31st. Evidently, John got to see a lot more than Ethel and I did, because the only time we really saw you was around August, September, budget time. Then you're always down here with your hat in your hand. The other thing is, I can't understand why you're wearing your bulletproof vest under your shirt. We're all friendly here. We're all friendly. But let me get serious. When I spoke at Ethel's retirement, I said I didn't like Brian sitting behind me, if anybody remembers that. But standing behind me was an entirely different matter, because he was a public servant of the first magnitude. There was never an issue in town, flood, fire, famine, blizzard, you name it, where the chief wasn't there or wasn't readily available. He put his heart and soul into the police department, the first accredited police agency in Dutchess County, twice over. So he did a good job there. Staffing was excellent. Modern technology brought in and put to good use. Very little crime in the town. I got 6. 4 of them were down today. 5 of them were down today. I know how it is. I'm a little tired tonight. So I want to thank you for all your service. I want to thank your family for their support, because there were many a time when you probably should have been home, but you were out taking care of town business. I wish you well, both of you, well. Enjoy your grandkids, and may you have a long, healthy, successful retirement. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you, Pete. I know former Deputy Supervisor Walker, did you want to say a few words to that, Phil? I would. Would you really? Okay. I had a feeling you may, so.
It's kind of weird being over here now. I met Brian 24 years ago. We worked together. And my first encounter with Brian was, I was called to, I don't know if you remember this, Andy Criscolo's office. At that point, they had moved. If you're unfamiliar, the police department used to be downstairs in the building department.
Dungeon, yeah.
Okay. I think there were 2 cars and a part-time police officer. It was a very low scale. Now I think there are 200 cars, aren't there? Or close to that. Ever go past there? I'm going to count the cars. Okay. So anyway, I went to Andy Criscolo's office, and he was going to tell me the lay of the land. Do you remember this?
Yes, I
You do. All right. So Andy's there talking, and by the time the meeting ended, okay, I had told Andy Criscola the lay of the land, and Brian was a little taken back. So from that point, that was our first encounter. And for 24 years, we had a mutual respect for one another. I would give him a hard time every now and then. He and Mark Alberti, I'm glad to see that Mark is here and feeling well, they would take little jaunts, okay? And they would take little jaunts to my place of employment, okay? Right around September, okay?
Must be budget time.
Exactly.
We like the fall.
And they would come in and speak with my secretary, Margie. Oh, Tom, you were also there. John, I'm sorry, you were also there at times. And to this day, my former secretary asks how Brian is. So I told her, you're retiring,
Margie,
and she sends her best wishes. And they would come in and they would say, look, Ethel, you know, we really need another police car, and we need to hire 42 more policemen. And I would say, oh, yeah, sure you do. Yeah. But it was all in good fun. And always Brian thought of his department and the men and women who worked for him and with him, and he thought about the people who live in East Fishkill. And that was supreme with Ryan. About 20 years ago, probably 19 years ago, we started our first community day. And we looked for a theme or something to call or say about East Fishkill. And one of our former employees came up with, East Fishkill is a great place to live. But not only is East Fishkill a great place to live, East Fishkill is a safe place to live because of Brian and everyone who works with him. Love you, Brian.
Thanks, Ethel.
Thank you, Ethel. Councilman D'Alessandro, did you want to say a few words? Would you please go up to the podium? Sure. It'd just be better eyesight.
Should I just move this chair just out of here?
Yeah.
Look how many people are here for you, Brian. Would you ever think so many people would be celebrating your departure? But thank you all for coming to this special occasion.
Thought there'd be more.
although it's difficult to say goodbye, Brian, at the same time, we know that you leave our police department in wonderful, wonderful shape, and we are very thankful for that. You have been a pillar in East Fishkill for the past 31 years. Or maybe I should say a rock, because you, excuse me, you are the person who helped build our police department to what it is today, one of the best departments in the county. Even though it was not always smooth sailing, to build such a team, you took it in stride. You worked hard with very difficult people sometimes in a lot of different administrations. But your dedication and commitment to our community has proven a success. Thank you so much for everything you have done, and congratulations on your retirement.
Oh, sorry. And now, Police Chief Kevin Keefe would like to say a few words on behalf of the police department.
Okay, Brian, I think everyone's pretty much said all the things that I've been thinking about. Of course, we go back 30 years. I've worked for you 30 years now, and I can't say enough about a boss, and I think you're a cornerstone of the police department. I don't think there's enough words of time to tell the public how much of yourself you've put into it. You've treated us all like family, and when times got tough, we all pulled together and we got the job done. And I think that's a great tribute to your leadership, your abilities to keep things going and keep the place running. And all I want to do is say, on behalf of everybody in the PD, you know, we wish you best on your retirement. Congratulations, and congratulations on your new grandbaby.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Chief. I've been asked to read for a couple of people that couldn't be with us tonight. I was asked to read a couple of short little blurbs. The first one, let me see who this is from. Oh, Judge Irene McElhiney, who wished she could be here. We had saved her chair, but she had a conflict and she couldn't be here tonight, but she asked me to say a few words on her behalf. Dear Brian, I regret that I could not be present tonight to personally congratulate you on your retirement. Years ago, you asked me if you could use my name as reference for a position with the East Fishkill Police Department. Well, you can imagine my surprise.
She said no.
As an officer, you were always professional and courteous and became a well-respected member of the East Fishkill Police Department. As Chief of Police, you have worked tirelessly to make the East Fishkill Police Department one of the best in New York State. I am no longer surprised, but have a great deal of respect for you and the job you have done. Best wishes to you and your family in your retirement. Sincerely, Judge Irene McElhiney, or as Brian would say, Mrs. Mack. So that's from the judge, and she did wish she could be here. I also have a little blurb from former Councilman Bill Danke, who could not be with us tonight. In the last 8 years that I was liaison to the East Fishkill Police Department, I have come to know Brian very well. During this time, I was consistently impressed with his complete dedication to the East Fishkill Police Department and the town of East Fishkill. There was never any drama with Brian. If the town board had a concern, it was discussed and addressed. If we had a request, it was met. At budget time, Brian always balanced the department's needs with the fiscal reality of the town's budgetary situation. For that, I have to thank Pete Idema, Sam Patton, and Ethel Walker for getting Brian in line by the time we took office. The September meetings were over. Brian leaves a department that's New York State certified and a model for all municipalities. The officers of the East Fishkill Police Department always show the professionalism that we, the taxpayers, are so proud of in East Fishkill. The new leadership takes over a department that is the envy of police agencies around our state, and that is a tribute to Brian Nichols. So I say to Brian, well done. Your work and devotion to our town will long be remembered and witnessed every day in the East Fishkill Police Department. All the best in your retirement, my friend, former Councilman William Danke. Pass that on to you, and I'd like to thank Judge McElhiney and former Councilman Danke for their words. Brian, I can't say enough. As I've always said, I'm just so impressed by the professionalism of our department. I really believe our police department ranks the highest of any police department in New York State and Dutchess County. You guys and women have done a terrific job. You're professional. You know your job, and I couldn't be more proud of all of you. Brian, I know you worked so hard. Kevin Keefe, Mark Alberti, Dwayne, you guys have done such a great job building this department, and I just can't say enough. What you're leaving behind is truly a model department, and I'd like to thank you for that. With that in mind, we did feel like we had to get you a little something. I got you a couple cards, but my secretary said you got to really get him something, so we went out and got you something. We took up a collection. It didn't go well, so we put the hat around again. Finally, we got enough, and then I had to throw a few extra bucks for the plaque, but we got it. So this plaque is from the town of East Fishkill, presented to Chief Brian Nichols, town of East Fishkill Police Department, in recognition and appreciation of his unwavering dedication and commitment during a career spanning 31 years. Through his initiative, understanding, vision, and leadership, Brian Nichols has made our department second to none, exemplified in its certification by the New York State Law Enforcement Accreditation Council, a fact that we in East Fishkill look upon with pride. The town of East Fishkill is a better and safer community due to your efforts, a true asset to our community, presented by the East Fishkill Town Board 2014. So Brian, this is for you, and I'd like the board members to come down.
Hope we didn't pay by the letter, Brian.
And let me just take this out. And we'd like to do, everybody put the waters away, no waters. I look a little professional here. Our town clerk is here, Councilman D'Alessandro, Councilman Marinero, Councilman Franco, and Deputy Supervisor Cassidy is here. Come on, you gotta squeeze in a little bit more. This is what we call Kodak moment. Chief, I'd like to give this, present this to you. Honestly, I don't think anybody got the camera? We gotta take a picture. Brian, I gotta tell you, sincerely. We're good. You get smiles? I always smile.
He's a little disappointed when he sat up there before he's getting to pull out the budget.
Brian, thank you so much. Thank you for everything. You've done a great job. And I just want to talk to you outside before we get back on with the meeting in just a few minutes.
Can I have a couple words?
I'd like to say a couple words. I'd also ask, I'd like to come up with the former supervisors, deputy supervisor come up, and I'd also like to have our former judges here, Judge Tomkovich, come up and take a picture with you also, if you would. And maybe, I know that Kevin is here. Wait, you want to come up and take a picture? Well, have Brian come say his piece, and we thank you so much for this, Brian.
Thanks, everybody. I don't usually have much to say, but I figured I'd say something. Couple things. I want to start off with the political end of my job. And we all joke around, but I have the utmost respect for everybody I've ever worked for, and that's who I work for, is the people in the town and the people who ran for office and got elected. And we've always gone back and forth. We've battled with budgets. We've battled with issues. We've had lawsuits. We've had all kinds of crazy stuff. Pete and Ethel and Sam, I dealt with you a lot on budgets. Pete was a pushover. I got everything out of him. Ethel, no way. Like I said when she was leaving, she scares me still. But listen, John is tight, all right? Like a rubber band. I mean tight. And you can't get anything out of this guy, all right? That's probably why I'm retiring, because I can't get anything out of him. No, but, you know, the boards, you know, I've been through a lot of different boards in the town. A lot of people have passed away. I've been through a lot of other employees, and because I've always been like just Brian in the town with all the employees, and Debbie Donahue and all the people that were all our good friends that have passed away. You know, we've had people in the police department that have passed away. You know, I couldn't name everybody, but, you know, it's just been a pleasure working here. You know, I've always considered everybody in the town hall and everybody who worked for the town and everybody in the town, you know, kind of like my little family, and I still will. When I'm done, I'm still come in and visit and stop in every office and gab, and John will get mad at me because I'm talking to people. But, you know, so I'm really grateful that you guys had the faith in me to give me this job and keep me in it, because I lived way past the life expectancy of a police chief. I mean, 22 years it'll be in September that, you know. So I really do appreciate it. I really appreciate all of the town boards and town councilmen and town supervisors. And Ethel just asked me before who I started with, and Wes Virtue was the town supervisor when I started. And God only knows why he let him hire me, because he was my neighbor. But Wes Virtue was the supervisor, and Irene McElhaney was my next door neighbor.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you all. I appreciate everything you always did for me, and how you always backed me up and covered my back, and hopefully I did the same to you. You know, of course, my family, you know, my kids are all here, my wife is here, and, you know, they suffered a lot through my career, through being out, not being home all the time and stuff. But you know, I don't look at myself as the guy who made the police department. I started 31 years ago with Dwayne Dowdy. We went to the academy together. You know, we've been friends. We were friends before the police department. We knew each other in high school. Kevin got on the job. Kevin's been there 30 years. He got on right after Dwayne and I. Mark got on the job. And there's been countless others, Doug Lucy, a bunch of other people, supervisory people, and just the staff of the police department. Every one of them, I consider them a friend and one of my family members, and we've always been like that. And I didn't build the police department. We built the police department, and I couldn't have done with the police department what's been done if I didn't have people like Dwayne and people like Kevin and Mark in the police department with me. You know, so I don't look at it as I made our police department. I look at it as we made the police department, and we're going to continue to make the police department a better place to work at, because everybody just jumped right in and just kept things going. And, you know, the only reason I'm not wearing flip-flops tonight is because John Wood said something about it today. He wanted to know if I was going to dress up tonight or wearing flip-flops.
Yeah.
Tom Wood, you know, Tom's been in it since I started. I think Tom started as the judge 6 months after I became a police officer. It was Judge Alley before you, right?
And I was shot, too.
Yeah. So, you know, Tom's been here throughout my career. You know, a lot of people have been, and I'm really grateful. I really am. And anybody who thinks I'm not, I mean, I truly am. I couldn't ask to work for a better bunch of people, with a better bunch of people, and I never considered any of these officers or members of my department as working for me. They work with me, you know, and I hope that's how the department goes forward in the future. I really think it will with the leadership that's in place there. I really think that the department's going to continue to grow and go forward. I hope I didn't forget anybody. Judge Romick is our newest judge here. He came in late. You know, judges do that. I mean, you know, they either come late or they can't show up, one of the two. But, you know, it's been a great career. I've had a great time. It's time to move on. You never know. You never know what I might come back as. But, I mean, hey, thanks for everything.
Thank you, Brian. I was going to ask, but without Judge McElhaney being here, I did want to see if we could have a picture with all the judges, but Irene couldn't make it, so maybe another time if we can get all of our judges together, we'll set up a photo op. because it wouldn't be right without Mrs. Mack being here. So we'll see what we can do. Brian, Brian, thank you very much. And you know, I'd like to, just please join me, I'd like to give the East Fishkill Police Department a round of applause for everything. You know, at our last police department's meeting, I mentioned my favorite movie was Remember the Titans. And at the last game, it didn't look like they were going to win. And at halftime, the coach is in there saying, you know, we're going to go out here, win or lose. And the one fellow stood up and said, well, coach, I'm not perfect. None of us here is, but as a team, we're perfect. And if it's all the same to you, we're going to go out on that field and win, which they did. And what you guys have built, what you men and women built the East Fishkill Police Department is a perfect team. And we will keep that going. And just again, thank you very much for all your service, Brian. All righty. Well, I guess we have work to do now. I'm ready to go home, but I guess we have some work to do. So I would like to ask the clerk to call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry.
They want a 2-minute recess.
We want a 2-minute recess.
2-minute recess.
You know what? Let's have a 4-minute recess. 4-minute recess. Thank you very much.
Thanks, it takes a